and welcome to Lorehammer. I'm your host, Mark, and joining me today we got Court. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hey, good to be here, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and normally we have Logan joining us, but today we got the esteemed Jordan coming in clutch, as always, when you need him in an episode.
Howdy, boys. How's it going?
Very good.
Good. Yeah.
What are you drinking tonight?
Oh, man. So I'm still in the US of A. This time I'm in the great state of Arizona. And I thought it would be fitting to do some very American beer, Bud Light.
Bud Light, yeah.
Classic,
okay.
right?
So you're going with like a trashy, sloshy vibe tonight at the end of the episode.
Like redneck.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because that's how every Canadian sees every American. They're all just rednecks. There's no difference.
We just view you guys as like Mounties. Basically, just you're wearing flannel the whole time and wrestling bears and drinking maple syrup right from the tree.
Basically, yeah.
Who told you our secrets?
I know. And Jordan, it's wild. We just discovered before the episode started that you're hanging out in Mesa, Phoenix area, which is like really close to me. So
absolutely.
Date night.
Date you and
night.
Logan coming to my house.
You mean Logan, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
House, actually.
And now if they don't pay for dinner for you, it'd be super embarrassing. So Jordan, I think you got a free dinner out of this.
Oh yeah. Hopefully a free Bud Light too.
Hey man, don't break
this episode is brought to you by two people, Bud Light and Merlin Miniatures. One of these is real, one of them is not. Merlin's Miniatures. Go to that website. We sell minis. Well, not really. You wouldn't trust me to do anything other than for talk shit on the internet. But I'm associated with somebody, Merlin Miniatures, who sells minis. And if you go there, they do worldwide shipping of all your favorite 40K, Warhammer, Lord of the Rings. And what I particularly like is they have a bunch of items over 5,000 or 50,000. And they got like old miniatures. Every time I go on there, I've talked about Faramir and his Rangers, Now there's all those new Forge World kits. You can get them too. So not only can you get those old classic kits, you can get the new ones. So thank you so much to Merlin's Miniatures for sponsoring this episode. And definitely go check them out. Use promo code Lorehammer. And there's a link in the description below. We also have a very bump in Discord. Right now, we got a tabletop simulator channel that has been now activated and is live. And I think there's like 15 people in there trying to get a tournament going. And I think what their plan is to not do like a very time strict tournament. It's not going to be over the course of one day. It might be over the course of the month that you have a couple games to play, and you can come back and play it as you go. So it's going to be pretty well available to anyone who kind of wants to get involved in 40K tabletop simulator.
What are the painting restrictions there?
I think you just download different graphic mods on that.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you've ever played it. That's a funny joke. It went over my head. Oh, man, now I feel like a dumb bitch. Thank you.
I think it was Grimaldus that was chatting about jumping on tabletop, and he and I need to get a game in at some point because I've never played it. I've never used it.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, man. Like you can zoom in, spin stuff around, you plop down a 40K rule book, flip over the pages. It's pretty neat. Give it a couple years and then you'll be inside of it walking around in VR. So that'll be neat too.
Oh man, that would be so cool.
We're getting there, man. Give it a couple more years. If we survive, if we all live a couple years.
Yeah.
The end is nigh.
Yeah. But until then, we talk about 40K. But also there's other things we talk about too, like the Sunday night movie night on the Discord. Go check that out. That's still going. That's happening still. People are still watching 40K movies every Sunday night on the Discord.
Wow.
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, so you're watching like the Warhammer TV stuff, the Warhammer Plus, or what?
Yeah, they watch those. They also watch they'll take a vote which of these three movies, like Soylent Green, Starship Troopers, and these kind of 40K adjacent kind of where you're like, well,
maybe
belong in the 40K?
Yeah, it was inspired by these films.
Yeah. and some fit definitely better than others. Others are their whole universe. But yeah, they're watching movies every Sunday night, so go check that out. Lots of fun stuff happening on the Discord.
Sweet. And then, guys, please join the Imperial Tithe and support the show. If you dig what we do here, please jump on our Patreon. And if you'd like to get the ad-free version of every episode, it's only $2.50 a month. And for $5 a month, you get the video version. You get to see our beautiful faces. You get to interact with us in ways that you never thought possible. You can see the things that I hold up in my fun little relic corner, which is just going to get added to and all that.
Yeah, and you can even look inside my mouth.
Yeah, there it is, which leads to your soul. Or so.
Yeah. Oh no, so, people are gonna take it now. So go watch that.
If it's still there, we don't know. The jury's out. Yeah. Jump on the Patreon.
Yeah, and if you are a patron member, you can also jump on the live stream with us. We have a live chat room during the show, and you can interact. It's always fun having guys on the comments. If you have been listening to the show, as of recently, you'll hear that we interject some of the commentary into the show as well, so that's fun. We also do call-in guests at the end of the episode, and we take on your questions. All the long-time listeners and first-time callers, and of course you can always join me for Warhammer and whiskey, but today it's Bud Light, and I'm feeling a little like, oh yeah, you hear that? I feel like I'm about to go Stone Cold Steve Austin.
A manly drink for a bunch of manly Astartes that we're about to talk about. Yeah, absolutely. That's like a trench swivel that they would serve. That's that kind of quality. Yeah,
I'm
get
drinking.
The job done.
I think I got some green tea here. What does that make me? If Jordan's like Space Marine, like in the trenches, guard vibe, like I've got green tea. What is that?
Some type of Eldari, I think. Yeah.
Okay. I dig that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm just drinking water because it's all I have on the island currently. So muchas agua fria, amigos. Por favor. So
that was beautiful.
That's what I got for you. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you guys hey yo, should I do an episode all in Spanish? Wouldn't that be a trip? Christian speaks Spanish.
Yeah, you guys could both talk Spanish to each other.
I would love that.
Your broken Spanglish.
Okay, we're on it. That's fucking funny. I'm gonna put that in the bonus episodes. Okay, let's start this episode. Iron Warriors. This is part 3 of this kind of epic series we've gone on. Part 1 was Perturabo and his origins and the Great Crusade, and we talked a little bit about that, and then we'll kind of recap that in a bit. The next episode was Perturabo during the Horus Heresy and the Great Scouring. And now this episode is about the Iron Warriors in the 30K era. So this is kind of that whole 30K Horus Heresy recap. If you've listened to our Primarch Legion episodes, I kind of keep the history part of it all to the Primarchs, because typically the Legion will be in the same spot as the Primarch. So when I was kind of choosing what to talk about, the history is a lot shorter. We try to talk a lot more in this episode about just like organizational things, or like special units, all those kind of war gear options. Do you like Terminators with Cyclone missile launchers, and do you like 5 of them, and do you like it so you can also see them a mile away because I painted in yellow and black hazard stripes? I do.
I'm hoping we uncover like some of the origins of the hazard stripes, because Iron Warriors I'm very unfamiliar with. My buddy played Iron Warriors when we first started in 3rd edition, and I totally fucked with him one time. We were playing a game, and I was like, okay, well, you're going through like water, right? Because like we had laid out the table to where it was like, oh, this is the stream, this is the river, and I was like, well, you need to roll a d6. He's like, okay. I was like, well, on a 3-up they rust because they're iron, so you just can't move. And he was like, oh, no way. I was like, yeah, sorry, man. So
them's the rules.
We'll see. But the hazard thing, I'm excited. Maybe we'll get some theories going or something. Get the tinfoil hat.
The best thing I heard in the Discord about the hazard stripes in the last week, and it was, I forget who it was, so unaccredited. It's reverse OSHA. So it's like, yeah, they're letting you know they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Just how dangerous.
Watch out.
Yeah. Every part of them is dangerous. Yeah, avoid. Yeah, we'll learn a little bit of that kind of stuff, their appearance, all that kind of stuff. Gene seed, homeworld, combat doctrine, martial traditions, beliefs, a whole bunch of stuff in this episode. It's gonna be jam-packed. But yeah, what do we kind of know about the Iron Warriors in this time? Like, what's your kind of sales pitch? We had Perturabo, and I think we kind of summed up his words with like relentless, bitter. And I think we had one other that was kind of key. But
yeah, he's iron resolve. I mean, iron, no pun intended, but like he was resolute and really just. I mean, he was kind of the opposite.
Unswayable.
Unswayable. Yeah. We learned about him during the Emperor's Children stuff and talking about Fulgrim, and that was sad.
Yeah. I think what makes that part so interesting is not only do we get to see Fulgrim turn into a demon prince, we also get to see that like Perturabo doesn't really like chaos. He's not the same as his other traitor marines. You know, he always has that kind of hesitancy to join chaos, or even like resentment towards it, or like he's not going full traitor.
I never viewed it that way. That's interesting. But I guess that kind of makes sense. Again, like I know very little, so I'm excited.
Okay. Well, we'll get into it then. Yeah, we'll start with kind of the history. We'll give you some overviews on some fun little areas and carry on into it. The Iron Warriors, one of the 9 first founding traitor legions, turned traitor during the Horus Heresy, now relentlessly bent on dismantling the Imperium of Man. Originally designated as the 4th Legion, the Iron Warriors were masters of siege warfare, specializing in the ruthless destruction of static fortifications. Their expertise made them bitter rivals of the Imperial Fist, who boasted of constructing the Imperium's most formidable defenses. This competition between the legions, fueled by the animosity, I hate that word, but carry on, between the Primarchs Perturabo and Rogaldorn, was a key factor in the Iron Warriors' descent into chaos. The Legion harbors a cold, mechanical approach to their existence, often replacing flesh with cybernetic enhancements. When afflicted by the chaotic mutations known as gifts from the ruinous powers, the Iron Warriors disdainfully sever these unwanted changes, opting instead for mechanical replacements, showcasing their resentments towards the corrupting influence of chaos. So yeah, maybe that's bleeding in slowly already, so quick into the episode. More common theme that we see with the Iron Warriors with these bionics, like it's very much like the Iron Hands, where it's like flesh is weak, but like, yeah, corrupted flesh is super weak to them.
Yeah, I love the idea of chaotic mutations being just called gifts. Like, look what we gave you. Here you go. You're welcome.
Now you have a stomach mouth. Perfect. Yeah. So helpful.
Yeah. It's quite the euphemism, really. That's
Once heralded as the Emperor's premier siege engineers, their Primarch Perturabo matched Rogaldorn in strategic and fortification prowess. Yet Perturabo harbored deep-seated resentment, feeling perpetually overshadowed by his brother Primarch, whose every accolade seemed a mocking slight. The coming of the Horus Heresy, perhaps the inevitable culmination of the festering rivalry, placing these 2 architects of war on opposing sides in the galaxy's brutal civil conflict. Yeah. All the Primarchs have like definitely there's relationships. There's some strong relationships between some. There's some rivalries or whatever. But this one always seems like one of the most iconic ones. Like Rogaldorn, Perturabo, like it's been like around since way back in the day. We've always known that these guys have had it out for each other. These like two sides of the same coin of siege warfare.
Yeah, whenever you think of like siege warfare when it comes to characters in 40k. There's just two names that really come to mind. And I think Rogel Dorn is more well known in that sense, but Perturabo is kind of matching him on the chaos vibe.
And
I think there's the two.
And isn't that Perturabo's problem? He's just like,
Yeah.
fuck, why'd you name Rogel Dorn first? You said more notably Rogel Dorn. And this is Perturabo's whole problem of why he's so sad.
I'm sorry, Purdy.
enough
I'm
acknowledgement.
sorry.
Yeah, fuck.
Well, if we get into the origins here, so the 4th Legion, born in the shadow of the Unification Wars on Terra, was forged from the ruins of a recidivist fortress on the Oro Plateau of Sek Amrak, their origins cloaked in the closing acts of that era. As the Emperor's Great Crusade unfolded in the 30th millennium, the surrounding warlike gun tribes, blood greaves, and tech enclaves of Sek Amrak were forcibly assimilated, providing the Legion with its initial recruits, turning this defiant region into one of the most grudgingly loyal domains of the Imperium. The gene seed of the 4th was a calculated advantage, boasting high adaptability and low rejection rates, starkly contrasting struggles of other legions, only mitigated later by the capture of the Selenar gene labs on Terra. The biological boon allowed for rapid growth, outpacing others in numbers and readiness, leading to their early deployment alongside the Dark Angels and White Scars. Their prowess was coldly documented in the Imperial Palace's frescoes, commemorating grim victories at the Cyto-Tyre Orbital, Zydex Archipelago, Ice Station Echo, and notably Mer Yasht, where they broke the Venusian War Witch's Lithogolem under the Emperor's own command. Geez, words and words, guys. Just a lot of pronunciations here.
Yeah. And if you're clever, maybe you could.
A lot of made up words, really. So.
Yeah.
They're not even real words. They're
Let's just mash some letters together and see how this turns out. Man. Well, these early successes were rewarded with superior weaponry from Mars, an influx of recruits meant for the Emperor's children, a bitter reminder of their utility in the face of others' losses. So that's kind of interesting. So they gained a lot of what was supposed to be for the Emperor's children. So I would assume the Mechanicum said, hey, here's a bunch of weapons and also a bunch of recruits. And maybe we'll get into it a little bit, but why they didn't go to Emperor's children. And if this was correlating in a time where the Emperor's children were only 200 strong? Was that right?
Yeah.
They need the numbers.
Yeah, no, it seems like it's definitely right in that era, and just something had happened and all that material gets shifted to the Iron Warriors. It's interesting doing the Legion episodes kind of in order, because the number is kind of when the Legion was founded. Yeah, the Primarch wasn't found in the order of the Legion number, but these guys have a close connection to the Emperor's children. Even from the very, very beginning on Terra, they both served there, and not every chapter or Legion could definitely say that. It's interesting just how kind of we're going to see groups and patterns develop of which two during this kind of section of the foundings. And then, yeah.
Chat's going off, and I love you guys. I just want to say that right now.
I think we should read all those.
Please.
Oh, it's a court episode, my favorite.
Oh.
I love Wolverine episodes. Once again, that's a $5 Patreon membership to understand that one. When he's on the front lawn, it's a courtyard. When he's on a boat, it's a courtship. So many made up words, they say.
You guys, this is the best. I love it. Thank you. That's rad. Oh,
when he's in your brain, he's your frontal cortex.
Oh, that was good. Yeah. That was good.
Yeah,
I like
nice.
it. Damn.
Nice.
Making me feel all warm and fuzzy, guys.
They like you more than the Iron Warriors, I think. Once again, they're
Man.
not getting the love that they deserve.
Second best. That's it.
Fuck.
As the Great Crusade pushed beyond Segmentum Solar, the Fourth Legion, yet to unite with Perturabo, lost its cultural ties to Terra, maintaining a rigid, unchanging military doctrine. Their strategy was one of relentless, methodical force, eschewing the flair and heroism of their peers for a mechanistic approach to warfare. This made them seem unimaginative and honorless to some, like Horus, but to the high command, their reliability was a virtue, leading to their assignment to the most grueling, thankless sieges and fortifications. As they moved from one war zone to another, following orders without question, accumulating neither glory nor respite, a growing resentment took root, setting the stage for the fractures that would come with time as their once great numbers dwindled and their contributions went largely unrecognized. Geez, they're they're just getting the shit end of the stick. But the sad thing is that there was no honor, there was no glory, there's no any of that. But it's almost that, like, if you can flip the coin over and see what it's worth, like if you can see why you're being put in those positions, it's because they know you're reliable. They know you're good at it. Like, I've had jobs where I get the shit end of the stick and I have to do the dumb job, the tasks that I hate. And fuck, I did one today.
Proving you're competent. Yeah, proving you're capable just leads to more work.
Yes, but there is like this, they know that you're reliable, right? Sorry, Jordan, go ahead.
Well, yeah, like I was wondering, because I know in the Perturabo episode, we sort of talked about how maybe Perturabo didn't really get along a whole lot very well with the other Primarchs. So, like, was he being isolated in that situation, or was he getting the shit jobs because he was being isolated, or was it because they were just like so good and reliable and trustworthy? Was it a mix of both? I don't know. Fuzz in the comments says their reliability makes them get the hardest jobs, and it makes me think of the "you played yourself" meme, which is kind of what I was thinking. But I don't know. I guess I just don't know enough about the history of them to know it precisely why, but I guess that sheds some light on it.
Yeah, I do like those, and I'll also throw this into the little stew that we're making as another little factor. We'll go back to like the Legion Order. We had the Dark Angels, and they were supposed to be like the first warriors. They were supposed to be the first ones to go out. They had the best weapons. They could do everything. And then we had the Emperor's Children next, and they were kind of like a fancy legion. They were almost a parade legion for many years. Almost just like the Emperor's like, okay, now I'm like prideful in myself, like, a little boy boast of himself. Then he comes out with this legion up next. And, they're not the firstborn, so they don't get any of those accolades. Like, so from the very beginning, they're in like that third child syndrome of the legions, and not in the Primarch Order. Who knows about that? But that's another thing I'd throw into that stew there. Of why they always get the shit jobs. Because, like, you're not going to give the Dark Angels the shit jobs. You're not going to give the Emperor's Children the shit jobs.
True.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they're almost like the blue collar of Space Marines.
They're the Bud Light, really.
Yeah, they're the Bud Light for Space Marines. Even like their aesthetic, right, is like, personally not a big fan of their aesthetic, but like
you could afford paint.
Yeah, exactly. Yellow stripes across your chest, okay. Like, but so all right, so let's jump into the origins. From their inception, the Fourth Legion, later known as the Iron Warriors, operated with a relentless, disciplined force, as unyielding as the iron they would adopt into their name. They were among the most technologically adept legions, though often eclipsed by the Iron Hands in this regard, preferring to strike with overwhelming force from a position of calculated superiority. Their strategy evolved into one of meticulous pre-battle planning, employing massive bombardments and heavy armor to spearhead assaults, amassing what might have been the largest artillery train of the Great Crusade. Their warfare was cerebral, pragmatic, and calculated. Yet, once engaged, the Iron Warriors displayed the stubbornness that bordered on the resentful, refusing to retreat unless ordered by the highest command, even in the face of severe losses or unexpected setbacks. This tenacity became a grim point of pride, driving them to secure victory through sheer discipline and firepower, no matter the cost. This was starkly illustrated during the grueling campaigns of the Forge World of Enchaladion from 842-843 of the 30,000th millennium, where their refusal to adapt after the disastrous initial assault led to a near annihilation of their frontline forces, showcasing their bloody-minded resolve to prove their indomitable spirit.
Yeah, I feel like this is that third brother where he's got two other brother legions to compete with. He's like, I'm not going to back down no matter what. And the third brother, the youngest, is usually super fucking tough because he has to catch up and do what the other guys are doing.
Yeah, a lot of small poppy syndrome.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
also
exactly.
it's also like the friend that like is trying to open a gate or something, and they're like, "What the fuck? I want this open." And you're like, "Well, if you just undo the latch." No, I'm gonna get this. Yeah, but there's a latch. No, will just, and then they just kick it in. They're like, "See, I got it." Like,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
just
yeah.
That is me to a T. If someone tries to tell me to do something when I'm like trying to do it and I'm struggling, I do not want to hear it.
I got this.
You just
Yeah.
throw more Stardy's bodies at it
Exactly.
till your problems go away.
The Battle of Enchaladion was a costly one, making a decline in the legion's standing as they suffered not just in numbers but in reputation, with many in the imperial court and among the Primarchs suggesting that the Fourth had invited defeat to demonstrate their unmatched endurance. With nearly 29,000 Iron Warriors and over 2 million Imperial Army soldiers, this campaign cast a shadow over their previous achievements. By the decade's end, the Legion, now without a Primarch and diminished in both numbers and prestige, watch as their legions, like the Luna Wolves and Dark Angels, outshone them in glory and conquest, leaving the Iron Warriors in a state of resentful calculation, their star dimmed by the harsh realities of war they had so relentlessly embraced. Okay, so it's kind of interesting. This could also sort of explain why they maybe are frowned upon a little bit by other legions. Was just this one loss, this one bad defeat.
Yeah, that
And with
one
no
door that they
Primarch.
kicked in. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like you would watch the other Primarchs legion by legion and show up and like bring life and hope and renewal to each legion. And then your Primarch, there's whispers of Perturabo showing up, and you're like, I can't wait to meet Perturabo. Things are gonna be great. And then you meet Perturabo, and you're like, oh, so this is who we get. We're not getting any hopeful outcome out of this. And then you get sent into the trenches. Like, fuck.
Yep.
So that's where they get sent. They get sent into the Great Crusade, into the trenches. During the Great Crusade, the Iron Warriors, or the Fourth Legion, carved out a reputation as the Emperor's siege masters. I keep saying trenches because I always picture trenches outside of a fortification as you're shooting up at them, just for clarification. But their approach to warfare marked by relentless, methodical brutality. They are often deployed to the most fortified and resistant worlds, where their expertise in breaking sieges was unmatched. Their strategies revolved around overwhelming firepower, strategic bombardments, and the use of heavy mechanized units to breach enemy defenses. Their battles were not about swift victories, but about grueling attritional warfare that left enemies with no choice but to surrender or annihilation. This role, while vital, was one of the least celebrated, sowing seeds of resentment among the legions as they watch others claim glory for less arduous conquests. Yeah, it's funny, like the Emperor's Legion or Emperor's Children, they had this little vibe where they took a whole planet with 6 Astartes or something like this. You compare that to the method that the Iron Warriors are doing, where they're like, we'll take the planet. It could be 600, 6,000, 60,000. Don't tempt us. Like, they're just going to throw all the bodies at you.
There's got to be a timetable too that like is not, I want to say recognized, but like siege takes fucking forever. Like you talk about siege warfare in history, and it takes days, weeks, months, whatever it is. And it's not pretty, and it's not glorious in it of itself. Like, because so much of it is it's like surrendered through annihilation or attrition. Like, it is a waiting game. So a lot of it is not imaginative, like it said before, and a lot of it is not in this beautiful dance of warfare, like with the Emperor's Children, and it's not this heroic 1v1 kind of hitting thing. You're just slamming missiles and shit against fortifications and trying to cut off supply lines. And it's the dirty work, and it sucks that they got that, but like it's attrition, man. It's hard. Like, it's hard to pat somebody on the back, like, man, you really waited a long time. I'm proud of you. Good job on that patience.
Yeah. The Iron Warriors, contributors to the Great Crusade, were significant. Contributions were significant, yet often overshadowed. They were instrumental in campaigns like the Venusian campaign, where under the Emperor's direct command, they shattered the defenses of the war witches at Mahir Yasht. Their work in the 8th Expeditionary Fleet was equally vital, conquering numerous star clusters and annihilating Xenos threats over an 11-year campaign, setting the stage for the Imperium's dominance in the Segmentum Solar. Despite these accomplishments, their victories were largely unsung, with the Legion often left to garrison the worlds they had conquered, a duty they performed with bitter efficiency, but little recognition. The Crusade progressed. The 4th Legion's numbers grew, though their highly adaptable gene seed, but their spirit was tempered by continuous thankless tasks they were assigned. Their methodical, unchanging approach to warfare, while effective, was seen by some as lacking in the creativity and heroism celebrated among the other legions. This perception, combined with their role in the most brutal and prolonged engagements, foster a sense of being used and discarded, their achievements acknowledged only in the cold, calculating hindsight of the Imperial records. Their early successes, therefore, were tinged with the resentful acknowledgement of their place within the Great Crusade, and a place defined by necessity rather than glory. Oof, yeah. Yeah, like you said, man, they spend a lot of time just on campaigns, and then even when they're done, they're then just left on the planet to essentially rot. Like, how many times was the solar segmentum really under siege after they kind of conquered it? Same with the next planet, so, like, they were probably just left to these worlds to rot.
And that's kind of answering the thing before when we were all talking about, like, well, why are they getting stuff that was made for the Emperor's Children? Why are they getting supplies, and why are they getting recruits? And it's like, because they need them. And the Emperor's Children maybe didn't, maybe they were just doing kind of all right with where they were at. And with this, it's like, it's bodies, it's supplies, it's what you need. And so they're kind of just thrown the stuff that is not fun, and just
get it done.
I don't know. Get it done. It's the just give him the hammer. He'll know what he's doing.
Yeah, it's funny, even like the other legions are looking down on him, like, oh, there's no heroics in that legion, like no glorious last stands where you ultimately win the day when you blow up the bridge, but you kill yourself. Like, there's no flair and flavor, really. And they look down on him for that. And meanwhile, they're just in the trenches and like, what, you want me to tell you a joke? Like, I've been in this muddy trench for 4 years. Like, leave me alone.
What they need is, here we go, time for double nerding, gentlemen, is they need the one Iron Warrior guy who's running through the battlefield like in Helm's Deep in Lord of the Rings, and just has the big torch thing and can just sacrifice himself, blow himself up, blow the wall apart. Boom. And then, hey, there's a pretty cool moment. Steve did
Flawless
a good job.
tactic every time.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
There we go.
We will talk a lot about some, I think they're called bonded units, where the Iron Warriors, they do have a bunch of like Imperial Guard, or I guess Imperial Army at this point, regiments with them. And they will utilize them for like, stuff like that, where, maybe they're coming from all the planets across the galaxy. So you can get all types of flavors, from suicide bombers to just drown them in bodies, run their munitions out of ammo and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Now it's time for me to talk about the Horus Heresy. Did you give this to me just so I would cry? Are you trying to make me cry here?
I do. I like it.
To taste your tears.
Yeah. No, it's just so heartfelt and real. I'm like, take me deeper.
I know. Oh man. All right. Yeah. Horus Heresy. So the beloved Istvan V massacre. Jeez.
Ends well in this one. I promise you, Court. It ends nicely.
I'm going to find a sentence and just stop reading at some point. And just be like, there it is.
There it is.
The Iron
Court
Warriors.
broke before the guard.
The Iron Warriors arrived on Istvan V under the pretense of loyalty, ordered to participate in the second wave of the assault against the traitor legions. But loyalty had long since soured into something far more calculating and bitter. Perturabo and his sons had grown tired of being the Imperium's expendable tools, the unacknowledged architects of countless victories that others took credit for. Sons of bitches. I'm already getting riled. Here we go. When the time came, they did not hesitate. With ruthless precision, they turned their guns on the very brothers they had marched beside moments before. The Raven Guard and Iron Hands, already bloodied and weary from the initial assault, were caught utterly unprepared as the Iron Warriors unleashed a barrage of cold, mechanized death. It was not a battle. It was a fucking massacre. Oh, it just makes me think of the scene in Boondock Saints where Willem Dafoe's like conducting in the memory of what happened with the shootout. He's like, it was a firefight. Just fucking massacre. Oh, I love it. Anyways.
Yeah, like they have like 200 years of like this pent up resentment that they unleash, and there's nothing the Raven Guard can do. Oh no, yeah. God bless them. Sorry, Logan, that your beloved Raven Guard got spanked, got pee-pee slapped. Yeah. It was not a battle. It was a massacre, executed with the detached efficiency that had always defined the Iron Warriors. They made no grand declarations, no dramatic gestures, only the relentless advance of siegecraft turned inwards against their former kin. The Raven Guard's nimble strategies and the Iron Hands' stoic resilience crumbled under the weight of betrayal and heavy ordnance. The Iron Warriors didn't just kill, they dismantled, broke, and crushed their former allies with the same methodical thoroughness they had once reserved for Xenos fortresses and rebel strongholds. To the Iron Warriors, there was no distinction between an enemy from without and a brother who stood in their way. In the ashes of Istvan V, the Iron Warriors stood unrepentant, their betrayal a calculated move in a greater game. They had played their part perfectly, lulling the loyalists into a false sense of security before striking at the heart with surgical cruelty. The drop site massacre wasn't just a turning point in the Horus Heresy. It was a bitter testament to the Iron Warriors' unrelenting disdain for the Imperium that had used and discarded them for so long. Perturabo didn't merely join Horus. He proved that the bonds of brotherhood and duty were as fragile as the walls he had spent centuries tearing down. How the fuck am I supposed to stop anywhere in that and be happy? Like from the fucking beginning, it's just like, this shit
sucks. Oh man, it's so good though. It's so good because like how many times you guys do a job like, man, it's been multiple times throughout this past couple weeks where it's like, fuck this is the day I quit, this is the day I fucking quit, and you come back the next day, but you're just like, gosh damn it, I've to do this one more fucking
200
time.
years Court suffered.
Right. And then you get here, and I'm sure there was no like gleefulness in it from the Iron Warriors. And I'm sure there wasn't like this, haha, finally, you sons of bitches. But there was probably like this grim satisfaction of just like, here we fucking go. It's your turn now.
Yeah, I like the way you describe that.
It is also interesting, like you could see their motivations are like clearly established, and like they didn't even need to turn to chaos or anything to like follow Horus. They were just clearly ready for the first opportunity to give a big FU to the Imperium. They were going to take it, right? So, which is sort of interesting that wasn't really like chaos. Chaos had more in play with like a lot of the other Primarchs, but obviously Perturabo was like one of the last to go to chaos, and he resisted it even, but he was still like one of the most eager to join Horus, and the Iron Warriors were the most eager to join Horus.
Yeah. And what's interesting too is that I almost just lost my train of thought, but like they didn't need the chaos tinge or like, man, I was gonna say tickle, like the little temptation, the chaos tickle, and, just the Slaneshi tickle. It's so obvious that they're frustrated understatement with the Imperium, but it doesn't make mention, and maybe the books kind of go into this a little bit, but like Horus is the War Master. Like, I'm sure they're pissed off at, Big E as well, so the Emperor, but the Imperium as a whole is their focus of disdain. And I'm kind of surprised it's not Horus as well, though, because Horus is the War Master. He's the one guiding, where battles happen and making sure it goes down. And I'm sure that Horus is giving them orders like, no, go take that fucking planet. I don't care how long it takes. Go get that fortress. Go do this. Go do what you're told. Because Horus wasn't a big fan of the Iron Warriors. Like, he thought they were unimaginative. So I'm surprised that there's, again, maybe in the books it goes into it, but I'm surprised there's not a resentment towards Horus himself. Initially.
Go ahead, Mark.
I think it comes back to just why they were founded and when they were founded, where it's just there's just those two other legions, and from the very beginning, pretty much from the days of the first conquest in the Sol system, they were given these shit tasks. So 150 years into the Great Crusade, when Horus is elected War Master, the pattern has already been set in. So yeah, I can see what you're saying about like, yeah, maybe they'd have some like grief against Horus, but also at the same time, they're 150 years in. Is Horus really still micromanaging the campaign to that level? Like, yeah, how many bad jobs was he really given? I think it just, when you look at it from the very beginning, man, even on Terra, there's actually quite a bit of information that they talk about. They were sent to go siege some fortresses way back on Terra, and they had to give up a bunch of lives. Like, this is just the way it is for them. There's two other legions above them, and at this point, like, who knows if the Emperor wanted to make 20 legions? We don't know if he ever was going to do that. And then I feel like every time we're doing another legion, we're going to find that next little piece. Like, okay, so these guys now start again in this weird like brother cycle. Because we kind of have the tale of like these three brothers, like Lionel Johnson, where he's like the favored firstborn. He should have been the one, and he's the most like the Emperor. And then we tell the story of the celebrated legion of the Emperor's children, and you contrast that with like the legion that they work very closely with, oftentimes the Emperor's Children and the Iron Warriors. And we get these little micro stories throughout.
I mean, it also could have just been like they didn't really have any great love for Horus or his legion, but it was just that was their best chance to get revenge on the Imperium, right? Was to go with Horus and his crew. So I could see that being like a dynamic as well.
Yeah, I do like that they're just like, okay, so it's the Van massacre. Like, get ready. Like, we're gonna just all this resentment, all this hatred. We're gonna let it out. Where I can picture there were a bunch of legions that were probably like, I'm not necessarily looking forward to fighting the Raven Guard. Like, man, I fought with the Raven Guard. I know some of them. You know it. Because at this point, maybe they weren't full chaos either. But the Iron Warriors, man, even though they weren't full chaos, they were in it.
Yeah. So here we go. Parallel time. Office Space. Okay.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
I'm picturing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if Peter, the main dude in Office Space, is Horus, he comes up with the idea to like take down Intertrode or whatever it's called, the tech company. But who's Perturabo? Perturabo is Milton with the stapler. He just gets the shit job. He gets put in the basement. He has to take care of the roach problem, and he's like, "Okay, that's my last straw. I've set the building on fire." And boom, he doesn't necessarily go to Peter and is like, "Okay, well, I'm in it. I don't like this company either." But no, he burns the fucking building down, and so there it is. Perturabo is Milton from Office Space.
Oh man,
Which,
like this
there's a
kind of
lesson
like
in here.
weird guy,
people
socially
nicely.
awkward.
Yeah.
Well, I think in our Perturabo, I mean, it's not too far from in our Perturabo episode, we were talking about he's the school shooter. he's just like this nerdy kid who snaps one day.
I was thinking of that in this, and I was like, I'm just gonna leave that one be. But yeah.
Oh,
I'm too American for that joke.
Yeah. Be nice to people, guys. There you go.
Yeah, they were gleeful. Now there's a couple other very kind of memorable things that happened to the Legion. Fulgrim's apotheosis. We've mentioned this not only on the Fulgrim one, on Perturabo's one, so we're gonna just dive past it. They go on a wild journey with the Emperor's Children into the Eye of Terror to get turned into a demon. But Traitor's gonna traitor, and the Emperor's Children every time, man, every time. Traitors be traiting. And yeah, the Emperor's Children betray the Iron Warriors, and they get all sad and whatever. Who cares? We've heard the story. One thing that people said last episode that was an interesting piece of history that I should mention is Talaran, because after they do this whole little adventure with Fulgrim, they go into the Eye of Terra, and then they get spatted out on Talaran.
Is that Talaran or Talarn?
Talaran, sure. That is definitely the more better way to say it.
Talarn.
Yeah. So the Battle of Talarn, let's get into it. It was a major conflict of the Horus Heresy, which saw the desolation of the imperial world of Talarn and the birth of the famed Talarn Desert Raiders regiments of the Imperial Guard. It was one of several planets that came under attack by the Iron Warriors after they had joined Horus in his rebellion against the Emperor. After being abandoned by their Emperor's Children, allies within the Eye of Terror, the Iron Warriors managed to leave, but the events of their escape dramatically altered the perceptions of their navigators. Once arriving at Talarn, Perturabo was made aware of the Black Oculus hidden beneath the planet, and he immediately drew up plans to invade and secure the cursus. Initially, Perturabo destroyed all orbital and surface defense installations before virus bombing the surface, and he believed that he had obliterated the defenders. However, many tank regiments were hidden in shelters beneath the surface, scattered across the planet, and they ventured into the poisonous world to attack those Iron Warriors who had landed. This led to a protracted battle that initially went in the Iron Warriors' favor until loyalist reinforcements arrived. Eventually, the Iron Warriors were able to capture with the secret aid of the Alpha Legion agents, the shelter beneath the Sapphire City, and use it as a secure staging ground upon the surface. The Iron Warriors flooded the planet with troops and tanks, and their expected easy victory instead turned into a protracted war at great cost to both sides of the conflict. Through the actions of the emissary of the of the War Master Argonis, the Alpha Legion agents, and Imperial Infocyte agent Leo, the Iron Warriors' search for the Black Oculus was exposed, and they were forced to withdraw from the planet. Although the planet's surface was destroyed and many resources were lost in the defense, the battle was regarded as an important Imperial victory during the Horus Heresy.
Yeah, very cool.
Interesting.
This battle is known to be the biggest tank battle in Imperial history. And oftentimes when we're talking about the Iron Warriors, we talk about their siege abilities, and we often will talk about their artillery abilities. And we might mention briefly their abilities to put down a shit ton of fucking tanks. Even Perturabo's like, yeah, I got my own Baneblade out back. It's called the Tormentor. Slaps hood. Like, I love the theme of like they got these kind of three strong kind of pieces where they can siege, or they can do tank battles, or they can do the other one I just mentioned, but it slipped my mind.
It's all the fun, like heavy stuff. I mean, I don't want to
Yeah.
say fun, but like because they're getting the shit jobs.
Artillery is
artillery.
fun though, I imagine. You just pop some stuff down and you watch some fires off in the distance. Like,
yeah, they get like, I mean, it's in their name, man. They're the fucking Iron Warriors. Like, that is about as close to their character as you can get. Like, they just they're like they're not into speed metal, they're not into thrash. They're like just heavy, kind of like doom, just jun, jun, jun. They probably listen to Sleep. I would think they listen to Sleep. Just saying.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. They're not the Gold Warriors, they're the fucking Iron Warriors.
Yeah. No frills, just like we said earlier with their paint schemes, like no frills. They just, you need to die, and I'm gonna crush you, and we're gonna hit you with a ton of tanks, bombs, and artillery.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, they definitely listen to Bolt Thrower. You're right, and Death Clock. Yes, Liar and Citizen. I see you. I'm not in the chat, but I see you.
Deathlock, yeah, that's so great. They should branch onto some 40K animations. I'd watch that. The other very notable thing they've done during the Horus Heresy was the Siege of Terra. And during the Siege of Terra, Perturabo's calculated cruelty and relentless ambition found their zenith as he became the face of Horus's war against the Imperium. The Iron Warriors were the vanguard of the assault, brutal and methodical in their approach, hammering against the defense of the Lion's Gate spaceport and Gorgon Bar. These were not battles fought for glory or honor, but as a cold, unforgiving necessity. The Iron Warriors tore through the Loyalist lines with grim efficiency that would have made their greatest enemy shudder. Yet beneath the relentless onslaught, there was a growing sense of disillusionment gnawing at Perturabo's resolve. The battlefield had become a place where nothing held its original meaning, where the distinction between allies and enemies blurred beneath the weight of betrayal. Yeah, it's very interesting, like how, once again, Perturabo becomes almost the workhorse of the Horus Heresy, and he does a lot of like the kind of the calculated lifting, where you got the World Eaters, it's like they're crazy berserkers now. Good luck getting anything from them. You got the Emperor's Children, where you're like, why is this bolter round brown? Where were you putting it? A little too, they're just up to their own thing. With the Iron Warriors, like they are that reliable thing that we talked about, where they end up taking on the brunt of, well, somebody needs to take the spaceport. Like, we're not going to get anywhere unless we take that. So then they have to go do it.
I wonder if Horus was like, I mean, he's of course hoping that everybody joins him, but like, maybe double fingers crossed that the Iron Warriors join with him, because like, well, we kind of need them. Like, we need him. Someone's got to do the job. and that would be good. And we don't really want to go up against him. So if we can't get Rogel Dorn, let's get Perturabo. He's our second pick. He's our second draft pick for the Heresy.
Yeah. Jeez, if Perturabo could hear you, he would cry. This is why he turned to chaos. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Oh, man. His whole life could have gone down a different direction if just one person gave him a hug. Just one.
A word of encouragement, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah. The setback at the Saturnine Wall was the beginning of Perturabo's descent into bitter resignation. He watched in disgust as the legions he had once fought beside fell in the grip of chaos, now twisted into monstrosities that paraded across the battlefield. The once proud warriors of the Emperor were no more, replaced by abominations, slaves to the warp. And in the midst of all of it, Perturabo was left to realize the brutal truth. This war was no longer one of brotherhood, but one of corruption. The final against his brother Rogel Dorn. The final test against his brother Rogel Dorn, which had once held so much meaning, was now tainted beyond recognition. The walls he labored to breach were no longer symbols of pride and glory, but crumbling remnants of a conflict warped by chaos. The ultimate betrayal came when Horus, in his unrelenting pursuit of victory, informed Perturabo that his role in the war would be diminished. His warriors scattered across various war zones. Mortarion and Death Guard were to take his place, as if Perturabo's Iron Warriors were mere tools to be discarded once they'd served their purpose. For Perturabo, this was the final insult, a cold dismissal of everything he had sacrificed, fought for, and bled to achieve. No longer willing to be a pawn in the game he had long since ceased to make sense, Perturabo ordered the Iron Warriors to evacuate Terra. They withdrew to the Iron Blood, abandoning the war that had been theirs to win, and leaving behind a broken, shattered Terra to burn. On the last episode, I kind of briefly mentioned how Perturabo would have made a good War Master. I think he would have. Like, he's this calculating guy. He's not torn by emotion. Yeah, he's not charismatic, but also at the same time, you don't necessarily want a charismatic War Master because they're not. You don't want him to start manipulating people and start causing, let's say, Horus Heresies happening, where Perturabo is not straying from the path of like the Great Crusade. You could put him in charge and that job's going to get done. So at the end of the Horus Heresy, he could have maybe, could have rose to the top of the rank and be like, I'm War Master now. Like, look at my record. I still have the most guys here. I am the most functional still. He could have rose to the top, but he was just done with all of this. And this was never his war. Just like the Great Crusade was never his war.
Just fed up with it all. But I tend to disagree though, just a little bit. Like his record is unmatched. It's proven time and time again, but I do think you need a visionary leader, and I don't think Perturabo is the visionary leader for the Imperium or for the traitor legions. I think he's the guy that is going to get the job done, but he's just not going to envision all these ways to go about it. You know what I mean?
And like zero charisma as well. Like, that'd be tough if you don't have that charisma like Horus had. It's hard to bring people together,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's part of the charm of the situation, though. You don't want a visionary. You don't want somebody to bring people together. That's what the Emperor is for. Yeah.
True.
But the Emperor left. Like, he went off and he was working on his Webway project. So you do need somebody in that seat that's going to kind of take over. It's like when the owner leaves. Okay. What do you got? What do you got?
Yeah, it's like the face of the Great Crusade is Perturabo's. I'm picturing that now plastered across the Imperium, just like all these wires coming out of his face. You can become part of the Imperium. It's just like, why?
Right.
No thanks.
And Mark, you read it in here. It was interesting that it just talks about the realization of the brutal truth that this war was no longer one of brotherhood, but one of corruption.
Yeah.
There's a few times we talk about when Primarchs have that realization of like, fuck, this isn't what we set out to do, but we're too far gone, and we're going this way anyways. And so I like that little taste of regret, just like, well, this isn't how it was supposed to be, but you know what? Fuck everything. We're just doing this. This is Perturabo's fuck it, we'll do it live kind of moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's had it with everyone. And this is when, Perturabo finally, after 200 years, starts living for himself. During the Great Scouring, when all the other traitor legions are fleeing and running like little bitches, the Iron Warriors finally do something for themselves.
Yeah. Just a little me time for them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Great Scouring. So, in the wake of the traitors' defeat at the Siege of Terra, Perturabo and the surviving Iron Warriors returned to their strongholds and sought to defend the small stellar empire they had carved out based on Olympia. But there was no refuge from the retribution of the Loyalist legions during the campaigns of the Great Scouring. The Imperial Fists supported the Ultramarines in a decade-long campaign to liberate the subjugated worlds from the control of the traitor legions. They discovered the Iron Warriors to be like a barbed hook that, once embedded into a victim, could only be removed with great risk of injury of the patient. The Iron Warriors' Olympia garrison held out 2 standard years from attacks by the Loyalist forces, eventually triggering their own missile stockpiles when defeat was unavoidable. These explosions left Olympia a blasted wasteland that, like the other Traitor Legion homeworlds, was declared perdita by the Inquisition. After the fall of Olympia, Perturabo and the Iron Warriors retreated to the Eye of Terror with the other traitor legions and took a demon world for themselves called Medrengard. So here we have just the moment where he's like, oh my, all right, you're going to do this? Well, fuck this. We're just going to set everything on fire. We're going to blow shit up and see what happens. Man,
Yeah.
just can't get
And
any
they have
like
had
respite.
Yeah, and they've had 200 years now of practice in this kind of warfare. And I can imagine they enjoy every booby trap, every tripwire that goes off, every ultramarine and Imperial Fist that they kill. It's just so satisfying because over 200 years, this is what they've had to do. And now they're on the giving end of it instead of the receiving end. And it feels nice, I'm sure.
Yes.
It's crazy.
So we'll get on to the Iron Cage. It is a bitter irony that history will never fully acknowledge whether Dorn's meticulously crafted defenses could have bested the Iron Warriors. Fate, it seems, intervened when Horus met his end at the hands of the Emperor aboard his flagship in Terra's orbit, robbing the Iron Warriors of their ultimate reckoning. But even in retreat, Perturabo's sons would not be denied their pound of flesh. Those who bled in the siege of Terra did not flee like whipped curs. They withdrew to the Eye of Terror with the other traitor legions, but not before exacting a relentless toll during the Great Scouring. In a grim defiance, they fought tooth and nail, clinging to the fractured empire they had carved from the star system surrounding their homeworld, Olympia. Here, free from the suffocating chains of loyalty and restraint, the Iron Warriors seized their long-awaited opportunity to confront their most despised rivals, the sons of Rogal Dorn. But Perturabo, ever the calculating architect of annihilation, was not content with mere battle. Before leading his legion into the shadows, he orchestrated the one true, unassailable victory for the Iron Warriors in the bleak aftermath of the Horus Heresies. Sebastus IV would be the crucible of Dorn's downfall. Perturabo designed a trap so intricate and merciless that it would immortalize his genius and his vengeance. This was the Eternal Fortress, a sprawling, nightmarish labyrinth spanning 20 square Terran miles, bristling with bunkers, towers, minefields, trenches, tank traps, and fortified redoubts. It was not a fortress to be defended, but a weapon to break the spirit of any who dared approach. When news of this defense reached Rogel Dorn, his pride flared predictably. He publicly vowed to dig Perturabo out of his hole and bring him back to Terra in an iron cage. Such arrogance. Dorn expected an honorable confrontation, walked blindly into the jaws of Perturabo's trap. The Iron Warriors had no intention of granting him a battle by any measure of honor, isolating the 4 companies of Imperial fists that made planetfall. Perturabo methodically severed their lifelines to orbital support, dissecting Dorn's forces with surgical precision. The Sons of Dorn were peeled apart, squad by squad, their cohesion shattered. A few of Dorn's warriors, driven by desperation or foolish bravery, managed to breach the outer defenses and to reach the heart of the Eternal Fortress, only to discover there was no heart at all, no central keep,
Gotcha,
no
bitch!
glorious, no glorious stronghold to capture, only an open expanse, coldly observed by yet more layers of defenses. The fortress was a hollow lie, a cruel joke played at the expense of Dorn's pride. By the 6th day, the Imperial fists were reduced to scattered, isolated pockets, fighting as individuals, their comrades' lifeless bodies pressed into service as makeshift cover. The siege, which the broken remnants of the Imperial fists would later call the Iron Cage, dragged on for 3 grueling solar weeks. Wow. It was only when Reboot Gilliman and the Ultramarines arrived that Dorn's agony found a reprieve. But relief came too late to salvage anything but shattered bodies and broken spirits. Dorn emerged from Sebestus IV, a hollowed man, his pride in tatters, his chapter crippled beyond recognition. It would be 19 long years before the Imperial fists could even hope to recover from their catastrophic losses. For Perturabo, however, the carnage of Sebestus IV was more than mere victory. It was ascension. Over 400 loyalist space marines were sacrificed on that cursed ground, their blood soaking the soil in tribute to Perturabo's relentless genius. This ruthless campaign, this masterpiece of calculated cruelty, earned him his dark apotheosis on the desecrated plains of Sebestus IV. Perturabo transcended mortality, rising as a demon prince of chaos, undivided. His triumph was not just over Dorn, but over the very ideals that once shackled him to the Imperium he had come to despise. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yes.
In the end, like, Perturabo and the Iron Warriors actually did get everything they wanted. Like, they embarrassed Rogel Dorn, defeated him. They just wanted to cause carnage and chaos. I don't think they even cared as much about, like, taking over the Imperium and ruling the way that Horus did.
Yeah. Yeah, it really did just come down to, like, burning it all down and really embarrassing Rogel Dorn.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's
I
kind
do
of
love
it.
too that how they pretty much have a perfect record. Like, going through, they don't really lose any battles. There are battles where they take 29,000 Space Marine casualties. Oops, but they still technically won. And right down to the end, like, they maybe lost at the Siege of Terra, but not really. Like, that was a group effort, man. Like, they could have probably kept going and had something happen, but fortune shifted on them.
Yeah. I mean, it
this was
turned
his
into a
come-up moment.
victory for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Partial, at least, for sure. All right. So we've mentioned a couple times, what do they look like? Well, that was kind of their history. There's going to be one more episode we jump into, like 40K history and the 10,000 kind of years leading up to it. But we'll leave their story there for now and talk about their appearance. The Iron Warriors, unlike some of their traitorous kin, disdain the touch of mutation, opting instead to sever corrupted flesh and replace it with unyielding cybernetics, mirroring their loyalist iron hands and the relentless rejection of their flesh's frailty. In their ranks, one is more likely to encounter an Iron Warrior melded with his weapons through bionics than one tainted by the demons of the ruinous powers. This reflects their philosophy not as zealous worshippers of chaos, but as cold utilitarians using chaos's power for their own enhancement, not its worship. Yeah, that's the bionics is super cool, and like even just watching the Siege of Terra happen, you see all these crazy mutated abominations, and the Iron Warriors once again are like spitting in their helmets. Like this is not it either. The Primarch's legacy of cold intelligence, paranoia, and dark features persist, embedded with them a preference of technological arts of war. Among them, Mark III Iron and Mark IV Maximus Pan armor prevails, remnants of Perturabo's contributions during the zenith of the Great Crusade. Their pre-heresy armor, once a point of grudging pride, now tarnished, reflects their fall from grace, sacrificing agility for their rigidity needing in their attritional warfare. Beneath their armor, many bear the mark of extensive cybernetics, their bodies and battle gear fused in twisted communion with the machine spirits. Some become one with their war gear, either shaped by the Imperium's corrupted influence or inflected by the techno-virus of the cults of destruction, the Obliterators, which are fucking cool. I have a little warband of them. Yeah.
So
I love that this is kind of like their like weird chaos corruption that they got, this like mechanical melding corruption where if you do that, you graft a chainsaw onto your arm and you become chainsawed arm guy. When you go into the warp, chances are good that's still all gonna get corrupted and become something and mutate. And
just a quick question, and for guys, please forgive the ignorance on this because I'm just not an Iron Warriors guy. I'm not really a chaos dude in general, but like where, and I have it in my head what I think, but like where do the Iron Warriors and Perturabo fall with the 4 ruinous powers? Like which flavor? Is it going to be corn?
None.
Okay.
None.
So they're just
like, you know, their ideology almost would line up better with Malice or Merlal if we put stock into that god.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sigismund mentions
Vashtor.
Yeah, and Vashtor I think is more the vibe for sure. But I was thinking like out of the main 4, and I think that makes sense. I just didn't really like put one to the other, you know.
Yeah, Perturabo and the Iron Warriors, they're not pawns, man. Like they never bought into Erebus's whole like join the dark gods. You know, they never got corrupted. They never had demon swords whispering in their ears. It was every time they seen it, it's like Perturabo had an experience where he's seen the first demon Primarch Fulgrim. And he's like, this is not it either. You know, and they just keep having these moments with chaos where they're like, this is not it. We just wanted to like not siege warfare no more. Like, So they definitely lean towards Chaos Undivided. Like that's their like that's where GW's landed with them. But I think maybe Vashtar they could do that. But once again, why worship Vashtar? I think it falls closely to Milal and Malice, where it's just like chaos for chaos's sake at this point. We come out, we're gonna burn stuff down, and then we're gonna leave. Like it's just chaos now.
Yeah, it's almost like pure form.
Yeah. They exploit the psychological terror of grotesque enhancements and monstrous forms inflicted upon their enemies. Adorned with spiked chains, gory fetishes, and jutting horns, they present a nightmarish visage, especially when breaching the fortifications of some unfortunate foe. Many an enemy has lost their will to fight at the sight of these demonic armored behemoths massing around the besieged fortresses. Their relentless, baying approach, an ominous prelude to the inevitable fall. Yeah, so that's definitely like what they kind of a lot about their mentality. You know, they're not seeing any possessed Iron Warriors. Like, you can make a story for anything, but that's not their look. That's not their theme. you know, they get some chaos mutation, they cut it off, and they might graft a bolter onto their arm.
Mm-hmm.
Cybernetic enhancements.
It's like they don't have time for that shit. Like, you know, Korn and the World Eaters are just kind of like, oh, let's go, and they're like, okay, well, just calm the fuck down. We're gonna shoot some stuff at them, and they're gonna die. Just don't worry. Stop screaming. Stop running into battle. We've got big guns, guys. And with you know Tzeentch, it's like, oh, we're gonna do one thing. We're gonna change our minds. I feel like that might be a little bit of the vibe with the traps. You know, like if there was kind of a way to go with one of the 4 ruinous powers,
Sure.
I don't see it being Slanesh at all whatsoever. So like they just there's a patience to them and an unrelenting like, oh, wall meet big bomb meet wall, bye.
Yeah,
Like
easy.
yeah
It
interesting.
would be a fun little Iron Warriors war band that worships Slaanesh, and it's all about like withholding. So instead of excess, like they get off to withholding pleasures of life from themselves, and that's how they kind of like give Slaanesh and worship him. I like it.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah. Denying oneself is its own pleasure.
There's low-hanging fruit, and I'm just gonna ignore it, and that's fine. That's fine. Well, continuing on with their appearance, during the Great Crusade, the Iron Warrior's armor was characterized by a stark. Yeah, there it is, Fuzz. Yep, you said it, and
Fuzz nailed it.
I wasn't gonna go there, but Fuzz hit it. The edging words. There it is. Okay, that's it. Glad we acknowledged that. Thank you, my friend. The Iron Warrior's armor was characterized by a stark utilitarian design, reflecting their pragmatic and relentless approach to warfare. Their primary color was a deep metallic gray, often referred to as iron, which symbolized their namesake and their unyielding nature. This gray was not the vibrant or polished silver of other legions, but a rather dull, matte finish, emphasizing their focus on function over form. The trim insignia of their armor was typically in black and provided sharp contrast that underscored their disciplined, almost machine-like demeanor. Patterns on their armor were minimal, focusing on practicality. Any adornments were usually geometric and simple, meant to signify rank or unit without extravagance. As the Horus Heresy unfolded, the Iron Warriors' visual identity began to shift subtly, reflecting their descent into the service of chaos. While their core color remained the iron gray, the once clean lines and discipline markings became less uniform. The black trim persisted, but might now be accented with darker, more ominous hues like deep reds or purples, suggesting their allegiance to the ruinous powers. The patterns on their armor grew more complex, with some warriors beginning to adopt the symbols of chaos subtly interwoven into their existing iconography. The armor might show signs of battle wear, less out of neglect and more as a testament to their grueling, siege-oriented campaigns, with scorch marks and battle scars becoming badges of their relentless warfare. Boom.
Yeah,
No
cool.
frills, baby. Just it is
No
what it
frills.
is. Yeah.
I do like the idea of depending on which ruinous power you kind of align with, you might have this kind of hue on your armor underneath that, like that drab steel. Like we mentioned, the reds of the purple. So like, you know, that purple hue if you're a Slaaneshi worshiper, because you know you can find a chaos worshiper in all their ranks, but the majority of them are not doing the chaos thing. But you can always find some. So yeah, you got the blue tinge for Tzeentch and the red one for Khorne, green for Nurgle. Kind of cool to have like these tinges of like god allegiance if you go that route with these people.
Yeah, I just keep looking at Jordan's background here, and I'm just like, yep, there it is. Yeah, It's rad.
Yeah.
By the later stages of the Horus Heresy, the Iron Warriors' armor had started to embody their transformation into a traitor legion. While still predominantly gray, the armor could now be seen with more overt symbols of chaos, albeit still in a restrained manner compared to other traitor legions. I'm looking at you, Emperor's Children.
Tisk tisk.
Yeah, just chaos. The addition of
Fabulous chaos.
Celebrate chaos. There you go. The addition of spikes, chains, and other grotesque adornments became more common, particularly among the ranks of those who embrace the darker aspects of their new allegiance. However, their commitment to their original color scheme and the fundamental design of their armor remained, symbolizing their enduring identity as the Iron Warriors, now reshaped by war and betrayal, but still recognizable by their iron gray and black, a grim reminder of their once loyalist past. Yeah, pretty sweet. And the fucking easiest scheme to paint, guys. Like if you want a chaos army and you don't want to paint black, just get some gunmetal going, boom,
Yeah.
little
Get that
dry
rattle
brush
can
over it.
out.
Oh,
Done. Wash.
forget about it. Done. Easy.
Forget about it. Hazard stripes are easy too, believe it or not. They're not as hard as people say. There's a technique to it. Like all things.
Yeah.
I like the scheme, man. I've never really tried hobbying like the wear and tear, but I would love to try doing some like the mud and the grime or like the battle wounds. Like I can imagine one Iron Warrior having like a gash in his armor across his chest that is almost so deep, but it's not enough to penetrate his armor, so it's still battle quality or worthy,
Mhm.
But he wears that like an honor. Like, look at this like wound I shrugged off, Like, yeah, I took
I'm
this in
all
the
about-
trenches of.
Yeah. I'm all about like battle damage stuff. Like I don't want it to be clean. I will post in the Discord some of my Necrons and some of the Trench Crusade minis I'm working on, but like nothing's clean, man. It's all chipped, it's weathered. It should be cool. So I'll post in the chat or in the Discord once we're done here.
I personally think that would be the only thing that makes the Iron Warriors actually look cool. Because I still don't like their.
Come on. Have you seen their logo? The skull mask that's almost Punisher-esque, but better.
Yeah, I guess. But they're just walking traffic symbols. That's what they look like to me.
Caution, we've come to destroy you.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And this is why Perturabo turned to chaos. You guys don't respect him. He is not just a traffic cop of the Imperium.
And on that note, we'll get into what the beliefs of Perturabo and by extension the Iron Warriors, who were steeped in bitterness, but were unwavering in their conviction that they were cynically exploited by the Emperor, thrust into the forefront of the Great Crusade's most savage and relentless conflicts. While they shed blood on the battlefield, other, more favored Primarchs collected the laurels of victory, leaving the Iron Warriors to languish in obscurity, guarding the worlds they bled for. They hold a particular grudge against Rogel Dorn of the Imperial Fists, attributing to him the manipulation of their homeworld, Olympia, which led to their further disgrace and eventual abandonment after their utility had waned. Their resolve is now set on vengeance against both. I was thinking if they maybe just like add a little, even just a pinch of flair to their armor, like a little pink or something, a little purple slash here, maybe the Emperor would have noticed them more. I think they just got overlooked because they were so drab.
Maybe
that
they
makes
did
sense.
though.
That makes sense.
Maybe they like just painted one of their pauldrons and like the Emperor's coming. You think he's gonna notice?
Yeah.
Now we'll get some attention.
Yeah.
Won't
but it didn't
anyone
happen.
recognize our hazard stripes? Please acknowledge.
Maybe that was it. It was like, well, surely they have to see this. Like it means caution. Like
they have to see this.
They have to notice this, guys. Like it's like when you're walking, in the hangar with all the Thunderhawks and stuff, and you see this stuff, and you got to duck your head, like, oh, watch out. That's why we're doing this,
nothing
right?
screams "Notice me more" for sure. These poor Iron Warriors, they're just like begging for attention.
Yeah. In their self-perception, they are akin to the mythic titans of ancient Terra, rampaging through the cosmos with wanton disregard for any law, natural or constructed by man, reaving and pillaging with impunity. They pay homage to the ruinous powers, not from piety, but from pragmatism, seeing them as tools rather than deities. Their true allegiance, fueled by resentment, lies with Perturabo, who they credit with their salvation from the Emperor's deceitful machinations. That's kind of interesting too. Is they're still sort of like atheistic or agnostic, I guess. Wherein like they believe that the gods exist. Obviously, they turn to chaos, but they still don't like really have loyalty to them, and they're kind of using them, and they see them just as a means to an end, which is sort of interesting because like a lot of other people who end up, end up obviously specifically worshiping um, or worshiping specific deities, right, or entities in the warp. Whereas these guys are just kind of like, yeah, we'll just use chaos to make us more powerful, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
A little thought just on like other gods in the warp, and like, they're like we said, they're not really acknowledging one, but like, what about if the warp has the reflections of whatever you're feeling? So like resentment is a huge emotion, and there isn't
That's
really
true.
like a god where resentment would fall. So like maybe they're slowly making a resentment god. Not really actually, but they could make a little pocket of it or something that they're kind of drawing the power from. And not that I'm saying that they're like now worshiping this resentment god, but whether you feel something or not, that effect is, or whether you worship it or not, that effect because you felt it happened.
Yeah. I mean, you can't avoid like the effects of the warp, right? Like it's sort of, but yeah, you could still, I guess, not
Yeah. So like if that,
be a
all their
total
act.
complete horror to a chaos god. Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if you try to focus your efforts somewhere else, like, you might be able to focus into something, some other kind of entity. Anyways.
Their loyalty to Perturabo was not of worship, but of cold, calculated retribution. They followed him, convinced that he has liberated them from the false emperor's altar of lies. With every action, they strike not for glory or faith, but for a relentless vengeance. Their campaign, a calculated dismantling of the very empire that once exploited and then discarded them.
Sigismus says, agnostic in this economy is crazy. Okay.
Okay, so wait. Man, did some shopping down here in the States, and holy hell, the price of eggs is unreal. I cannot believe it. You can't buy eggs. It's like,
Can't do it.
yeah, I don't know what they're like down there, Mark, but like I was in Texas for a little while, my wife and I, and eggs were like $2 a carton back then. That was like in 2019. And anyways, just
what were they, out of curiosity?
Like,
what is
like
it now?
liar, $8 a dozen, probably. Yeah.
Holy shit! Really?
Yeah, it's like
Oh
because
my
I think it's the bird flu or something is making the price
Oh.
of it. But yeah, it's like crazy. Anyways.
Yeah. I have chickens, so I just go to my backyard
Ooh.
and reach in that chicken ass and go, "Give me my breakfast, you dirty bird." Yeah, man.
I used to do that with my cereal boxes. Like, let me get in there. Go.
Reaching in there, shaking it out.
Yeah.
There better be a treat, a present, a kid's toy. Where are you? Yikes. Lord Hammer Legal does recommend not to fuck chickens. I have been told to say that a couple times on this show. I've been told we've been given the wrong message involving our chickens. Anyways. Gene Seed. Since their betrayal to chaos, chaos, the Iron Warriors have endured various mutations, often countering this by amputating affected limbs and substituting them with cold, unyielding cybernetics. The gene seed of the 4th Legion instills a deep-seated suspicion and paranoia in its Astartes, yet also endows them with exceptional intelligence and adaptive problem-solving skills. A bitter irony in their relentless service. Like their traitorous counterparts, the Iron Warriors were begrudging necessity, plunder the gene seed of the loyalist Astartes, as their own has been irreparably tarnished by warp exposure, rendering it futile for creating new Astartes from mere human males. This practice, however, is undertaken with resentment, and any new recruit born from such stolen gene seed is diversely labeled as half-breed. These unfortunate warriors are met with scorn and hated by battle brothers, seen as essential yet never truly part of the 4th Legion, especially by those who stood with Perturabo during the Horus Heresy. For a half-breed to ascend in the rank or earn any form of respect is a Herculean task, met with relentless opposition from their peers. Yet exceptions exist with warsmith Hansu, who, despite his origins from the gene seed of the despised Imperial Fist, clawed his ways to become one of the Legion's most formidable Chaos Lords, a testament to his relentless ambition in a sea of resentment.
Wait, so
resentment for the resentment god.
Geez, like even in the Outcast Legion, when you are recruited, you're an outcast in the Outcast Legion. Like,
yeah, man.
What bullshit is that? That sucks, man. Like Purdy, gotta be a little grateful for what you can get, bud. Like, come on, don't this half-breed shit, man.
I love this. Like, I love it though. They I would imagine they hate but love to take Imperial Fist gene seed in you, that because it's that like you're partly taking and corrupting your enemy, but then also you have kind of become your enemy. So it's like this. Do I want to half-breed?
Yes. Yeah.
One of us, but not really.
Man, it's just wild.
Yeah, it would be almost a cool little plot arc to see. Like a lot of these traitor legions, when it comes to their gene seed, they resort to this kidnapping technique of other gene seed. It'd be cool for them to like raid a vault that Kull had with all their original gene stock, so they could kind of get this purity of their genetic line back. And like you don't want them to like be pure, you still want them to have chaos taint and corruption and stuff, but at least it's functional Iron Warriors gene seed again.
Yeah. Didn't we see this with Emperor's Children?
Yeah, I guess Kull or
they go
Bile.
on raiding parties to get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair point.
Something. Yeah, I would love to see that too. I think you make a good point of like give them something that feels rewarding in this. And I think this is a way that you could reward the Iron Warriors narratively, is by having them stumble upon or find some cache of their gene seed and use it.
Yeah.
So getting into their homeworld, we talked a little bit about it briefly before, but Olympia, an unforgiving mountainous wasteland where humanity festered in scattered city-states, each clutching at a power over the others. The planet was rich in stone, which meant the endless construction of fortresses, fortifications, and walls. Dominating the jagged terrain, controlling the mountain paths and high ground was an absolute necessity for survival, and military might ruled over all. Among these city-states was Lokos, the heart of the world, where Perturabo, the unyielding son of the emperor, was born. His home was ruled by a tyrant, a puppet of crumbling power, who crushed any dissent under his heel. But when the emperor arrived, his promise to Perturabo came with a legion, a force meant to bring the tyrant of Lokos to heel. Maybe it's Lokos. Lokos sounds like this just like crazy party. Like, yo, it's Lokos, man.
It's Lokos.
Where's that Perturabo?
Hey, I say Perturabo, where you at? Yeah, that's something.
It could be logos. There's the Greek word logos, so I don't know.
Maybe.
That's the only thing I'm thinking.
I
But
think Perturabo's armor is actually named Logos,
oh, is it
and
okay?
Oh, okay.
yeah, where it's like
Sigmund-
a part of him. It's his like essence or whatever. Like his
Yeah.
yeah.
Mind you, some people pronounce logos as logos, so
Yeah.
it could be so whatever. Say it how you want.
Sigismund says the city-state of 4 locos. Oh.
Iron Warriors are Mexican. No wonder they hate Doran. They're trying to jump the wall.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, chat.
Oh,
What's great about
chat.
the chat is like I can always just say something and then blame it on the chat.
Blame it on the
Did Jack say that or was that?
Oh, I so am tempted to make that a Lorehammer t-shirt. Just has the Lorehammer logo, and then on the back it says like blame it on the chat. And then it just has the chat, and it just has like the most unhinged comments.
Not a bad idea.
Man.
Make it a shirt, someone.
Yeah, I like it. All right. So with that force, Perturabo did not just oust the tyrant. He bent the entire planet to his will, and soon enough, he was at the Emperor's side on the Great Crusade. The world, once fragmented, was now locked beneath his iron grip. Fast forward to the precipice of the heresy, and Perturabo, already haunted by the nightmare of the Sactrata Deeps campaign, learned that his precious Olympia had once again slipped from his grasp. Governor Demekos was dead, and in the void left behind, the Olympian lords had returned to their petty squabbles, each scheming to seize control. Yet behind the scenes, the word bearers pulled the strings, orchestrating the rebellion that crushed his pride. His world, his fortress, had betrayed him. The crushing weight of it all sent a tremor through his very soul, but he would not bend, he would return, and Olympia would burn. So just for clarification's sake, are we saying here that the word bearers are the ones that were behind the Olympian lords kind of taking power again?
Yeah,
Am I
that's what
reading
it
that
kind
right?
of sounded like. Yeah. Just trying to pull some extra strings and get that heresy and rebellion happening.
Okay.
Yeah, like they were always trying to infect like the early recruits and stuff and kind of get that kind of going.
Yeah. Okay. With a fury that could not be quenched, Perturabo unleashed a horror unlike any other. He offered the people of Olympia a choice: decimation or death. Just the classic conundrum of decimation or death, really,
Easy.
Yeah. They would select one in every 10 to die by their own hands, or they would be wiped from existence entirely, enslaved to the Iron Warrior's will. No mercy would be shown, no remorse. Each city was obliterated, street by street, until nothing was left but ashes and the twisted remains of a people crushed under the heel of their once proud master. Over 5 million souls perished, victims of their own failure. Those who dared resist were cut down, their blood mingling with the soil of the desecrated homeland. And even among the Iron Warriors, some still found the carnage too much, too vile, and refused to take part. They too met their end at the hands of their brothers.
Big old purge, man. Yeah, what a crazy scene. Like you don't mess around with like Perturabo and you don't start stuff in his ranks because he just comes down hard. Decimation or death. Yeah, no one wanted the decimation option, and he just went in and wiped this whole place pretty much.
Yeah, he's not one to be trifled with because he's just he's gonna get what he wants as far as results go. He's going to get results. Yeah. The skies of Olympia burned with the pyres of the dead, the smoke carrying the stench of a world broken beyond repair. The Iron Warriors themselves recoiled at the scale of the devastation they had wrought, and Perturabo knew deep down that the Emperor would never forgive him. Yet in the shadows, Horus, ever the pragmatist, offered praise. His words, spoken with ruthless clarity, praised Perturabo's decisiveness. To Horus, there was no failure here, only the cold, calculated response to weakness. It was this that would tear the Iron Warriors from the Emperor's cause. But not all of Perturabo's sons were so easily swayed. Some, those who had refused to be complicit in the annihilation, survived the destruction of Olympia, and with them, the burning desire for revenge. They would not rest until they had seen their Primarch brought low and their legion stripped of its chains. However, their numbers were few, their strength meager. They could not face Perturabo alone, and so they sought allies in darkness, vowing to hunt down their former brothers during the chaos of the heresy. The vendetta would be relentless, and the fire of revenge would consume all who stood in their way. That's pretty fucking rad. I love that idea that, like, even in this, there's some Iron Warriors that are like, whoa, too fucking far. This is not what we set out for either. And we're going to get revenge for what the fuck's happening in our legion. I like that.
Yeah, like the time of Olympia and this burning is before the Horus Heresy. You know, like this was a crazy thing to do to your home world. No legion would have done that. Like it makes sense why they're so like, well, what is the Emperor going to think? No other legion's blown up their own home world. Like that was my parents down there. You know, the legionnaires are saying to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
time for Olympia.
Let's get into the combat doctrine. The Iron Warriors' approach to war is methodical, relentless, and steeped in resentment. They initiate combat with an overwhelming artillery barrage, meticulously orchestrating each weapon's fire to maximize devastation. Their strategy integrates the might of traitor Titan legions when available, enhancing their already formidable firepower, which is particularly lethal in sieges and armored assaults. Their doctrine is built on the back of fortifications, using minimal troops to engage the enemy, thereby conserving their strength for decisive strikes. An Iron Warrior's planetary assault starts with a devastating orbital bombardment, employing nuclear, plasma, viral, or chemical weapons to coerce surrender without engaging ground forces. However, for more resilient worlds, if the initial bombardment fails to break the enemy's will, a landing force is deployed, with the first wave consisting of fighters, gunships, and bombers to soften up defenses and disrupt logistics. When brute force isn't the answer, the Iron Warriors resort to stealth, inserting covert teams to sabotage and secure landing zones, crippling enemy defenses from within. Once a foothold is established, the second wave arrives, bringing construction and heavy transport ships to erect defenses and further pummel the enemy with artillery. The third wave then floods the fortified areas with Iron Warriors and their support troops, launching a relentless campaign of armored assaults, lightning strikes, and sieges until resistance is obliterated.
It's a fun kind of concept to play with Iron Warriors and stealth, but yeah, to kind of do all those like sabotages and all that kind of infiltrate and detonate a bridge with supplies on it that the enemy needed, or just kind of those things. I could see it being very stealthy. In case anyone was kind of wondering how that played out.
Yeah, I do also wonder, like, in sort of the real world, though, would they become, perhaps because they are so methodical in their approach and they probably just do things the same all the time, would that make them maybe a little bit predictable in battle? Like, could someone maybe disrupt that just because they are predictable? I mean, that's kind of could be disproven just even with something like what that iron the iron gate or whatever he made the trap for Rogel Dorn, but because that was a bit innovative.
Yeah.
But I am wondering in just like their typical campaigns, you know.
Yeah, like I think the word methodical means in my mind that you are exhausting almost every option. You're taking your time and thinking is going left or right
Yeah.
better. And one thing about Perturabo is he was genuinely curious about how things worked. And with that maybe comes a little bit of that creative spark to some degree, although he liked to figure out how things work so he could break them, you know. But he was also a builder to some degree, and he did some like he built a miniature Warhound Titan we always talk about, a little functioning miniature Warhound Titan. So he had a little bit of that artsy kind of thing to him, but yeah, not enough.
Fair enough. In siege scenarios, their tactics are cold and efficient, probing breaches with veterans, then exploiting them with a combination of firepower and armored might. When the moment calls for it, their ferocity matches that of the Blood Angels or World Eaters, but it's calculated, applied only when necessary. Their armaments reflects this duality, favoring both range devastation and bolters, and plasma guns and melee carnage with power swords or chain swords. The Iron Warriors' reverence for heavy weaponry is evident. They're havoc snipers of destruction, while their association with the Obliterator cult provides them unmatched firepower. Their engineering prowess is unparalleled, with an arsenal including termite tunnelers, Leviathan transports, Dreadclaw assault boats, and vast array of artillery, all jealously guarded by their elite First Company. Their frequent alliance with traitor titans not only augments their siege capabilities, but also cements their reputation as masters of destruction, their methods as relentless as their grudge against the Imperium.
Cool. I love those termite tunnelers where it's like the opposite of drop pods. Instead of coming down, you're coming up on somebody, but it's still that same like high impact out of nowhere tactic.
Yeah.
This really rounds them out, I think, in a really cool way too. Because again, as I'm learning through this episode, like early on, it's very like artillery, bombardment, like heavy hitting, and then we mentioned stealth, and it's like, no, that absolutely makes sense. Like in siege, you would want to pursue some sort of stealthy nature, you know, or trickery, or traps and things like that. I think this rounds them out in a very cool way, so they're not so one dimensional, you know.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Martial traditions. The Iron Warriors' martial traditions was one of calculated destruction, honed through an endless series of sieges that left little room for glory, but much for resentment. Their approach to warfare was not about the swift victory or the heroic charge, but about the relentless breakdown of enemy defenses through attrition and overwhelming firepower. They were the masters of siegecraft, where every move was meticulously planned, every shot aimed to weaken, not just to kill. This tradition was born from the role of the Great Crusade, where they were often deployed to the most fortified and resistant worlds, their victories overshadowed by the more celebrated conquests of other legions. But man, like even during this unification wars on Terra, they were siege warfare people. Even Perturabo on Olympia and the city-states, that was all siege warfare as well. Like this is just their lot in life. Their doctrine was steeped in relentless application of force, with an emphasis on artillery, fortification, and cold mechanical precision of war. The Iron Warriors did not engage in the flamboyant tactics favored by some of their brothers. Instead, they embraced the martial tradition where every Iron Warrior was trained to be part of a vast, unyielding machine of war. Their training was not about personal prowess, but about becoming a cog in the siege engine. That was their legion. Each Astartes expected to endure, to break, and then to rebuild in an endless cycle of destruction and construction. This relentless cycle was fueled by a deep-seated resentment, a bitterness toward those who had celebrated the flash of battle while the Iron Warriors toiled in the shadows, breaking the bones of the Imperium's enemies. The martial tradition of the Iron Warriors also included the culture of rivalry and internal competition, where the only way to rise was through proving one's worth in the cold, unforgiving crucible of siege warfare. It's so interesting, like how it develops their character, where they're not about that frivolousness, or they're not getting promoted because they're charismatic and that's why they got it. Everything is based on merit. There's no room for that weak link in the chain with the Iron Warriors.
With that comes a sense of purpose, though, which is kind of interesting. Like you are a small piece. You're just a microscope, to quote Nick Cave in the Bad Seeds. You're a microscopic cog in his catastrophic plan, but you are a piece of that legion. Like, you have a job, you must do it because it connects to everything else. So there's an interesting sense of like self-fulfilling purpose there, because no one else has really given him much praise.
Yeah. And even internally, like, they have like the rivalry and internal competition, where like when it's merit based, then there is that little bit, well, I'm going to be better than you. And how do I do that? Well, I beat you down.
Yeah.
Societies like the Dodecathonian fostered this environment where the warriors could test their strategies against each other in simulations, but the real test was always on the battlefield, where failure was met with relentless punishment rather than second chances. The tradition was one of unforgiving discipline, where the Iron Warriors were expected to embody Perturabo's own calculating nature and his resentment toward those who had once used and then sidelined his legion. In every siege, every breach, they poured out their frustration, their martial tradition, a relentless, bitter testament to their acknowledgement of sacrifices. Yeah. There's no feast.
Dodecathon. It's like
That's how you say that. Okay.
Yeah, it's like what do you call it? Like a triathlon, but dodecathon. Yeah, it's like
the Pantheon.
I don't know how many it is, but it's more than 3. Dodecathon. I think it's like 12.
With
it's
Greek,
12,
it
12
says
Olympians.
12. Yeah.
Yeah, 12 Olympians. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Man, they don't do feasts. They don't do honor duels. They are not doing any of that kind of stuff. Like, there's not much to get up to when you're in siege warfare except blast that fucking fortress to the ground.
Yep. Yeah. Getting into their organization, in the 30K era, the Iron Warriors organization was a model of calculating efficiency, designed to execute the grim necessities of siege warfare with relentless precision. Their legion was structured around the core principle of attrition, with each grand battalion commanded by warsmiths, senior Astartes who had proven their worth in the most grueling of assaults. These warsmiths were not just leaders, but symbols of an unforgiving doctrine, where the glory of conquest was secondary to the brutal subjugation of worlds. The Iron Warriors' command structure was a cold machine, each cog knowing its piece, driven by a resentment, again, classic resentment, here we go, that stemmed from being the Emperor's tools for the hardest tasks, with little recognition of respite in return. The Legion's organization was further defined by its warrior societies, like the Dodecathon and the Apolacron. Apolacron. Apolacron.
Appalachrim, of course.
It's from them Appalachran Mountains. Apolacron. I think I'm going with Apolacron. And the Apolacron, which operated outside the conventional chain of command. These societies were both a source of internal competition and a harbor for the Legion's most calculating minds. The Dodecathon, with its focus on strategy and military architecture, was a breeding ground for the resentment that grew within the Legion, as its members vied for Perturabo's approval in bloodless war games, while their real battles went uncelebrated. So they're playing their own version of 40K, hoping that Daddy watches. There it is.
Oh no! Why'd you have to make it so personal to my life story, huh? Jeez.
Meanwhile, the Apollochron's obsession with battle automata hinted at a cold mechanical disdain for the flesh, a relentless pursuit of perfection in war without the vulnerabilities of human emotion or error. At the heart of the Iron Warriors organization was a relentless drive to prove their worth, not through the pomp of parade grounds, but through the relentless grind of siege warfare. Their formations, like the Tyranthykos and the Stor Bezashk, were tailored for specific roles in the endless campaign of attrition. The Tyranthykos, once honored guards turned pariahs after their failure at Phal, embodied the Legion's resentful spirit, status a constant reminder of the fickle nature of loyalty in an Imperium that had cast them aside. The Stor Bezashk, with their mastery over ordnance, were the relentless heartbeat of the Legion, each explosion a calculated expression of their bitterness towards an emperor who had used their skills for conquest only to abandon them to obscurity. This organization was not about glory, but survival and vengeance in the cold calculus of war. Yeah, I would love to know if they were hip to the idea of what was the Emperor's first like creations that he was just using pre-Space Marines?
The
Thunder Warriors, the fucking Thunder Warriors.
Yeah.
I would love to know if they knew about that and they're like, nope, here's that shit again. We're just the fucking new Thunder Warriors.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's just a tool.
It's cool kind of how in their own little world they are too. They have a bunch of little warrior cults and societies that happen. Like we mentioned the Dodecathon or whatever. There's a whole bunch. A lot of them are very interesting where, yeah, they focus definitely on like an aspect of war or something more like they're definitely warrior cults for sure, more so than like intellectual cults of some of the other legions, you know?
But it all revolves around war, though. I think to that, the calculating brute nature of it too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There seems to be a couple different kind of tiers to the Iron Warriors in this era. They have their kind of cults. They have all their specialty units that we're about to get into. They have some War Masters, but then they have also the Bonded, where they're like not Astartes, they're Imperial Army members. Then they have all these kind of other. They just got a whole bunch that we're going to get into here. So let's start with the hierarchy, though.
Yeah, let's get into the hierarchy. The Iron Warriors hierarchy was a calculated matrix of command designed with the relentless efficiency of a siege engine. At the apex stood Perturabo, the Primarch whose genius in fortification was equaled only by his resentment towards the perceived slights of his brother Primarchs. Below him were the Warsmiths, senior Astartes who commanded the Grand Battalions, each chosen for their ability to break the strongest defenses. These Warsmiths were not merely leaders, but the embodiment of the Legion's philosophy: to persist where others would falter, to serve without the expectation of glory, and to harbor a deep-seated bitterness for the thankless roles they were assigned during the Great Crusade. The Iron Warriors hierarchy extended into secretive warrior societies that both bolstered and complicated their command structure. The Dodecathon, or Brethren of Stone, was the council of the Legion's most influential strategists and builders, where rank was momentarily forgotten in the pursuit of siege mastery. This society was a breeding ground for eternal internal competition and resentment, where one's worth was measured not by accolades, but by one's ability to outthink and outlast opponents. The Apollocron focused on the arcane craft of battle automata, operated with relentless pursuit of mechanical perfection, their disdain for the inefficiencies of flesh adding to the Legion's overall contempt for more ceremonial aspects of Astartes' life. Lower in the hierarchy, the Iron Warriors maintained a relentless pace of warfare through specialized units like the Tyrannothekos, once Perturabo's honor guard, now demoted to the front lines of their most brutal sieges after their failure at the Battle of Thal. Their demotion was a cold reminder of the Legion's unforgiving nature. When failure was met with relentless punishment rather than forgiveness, the Stora Bezashka, masters of artillery, were pivotal in the Legion's hierarchy. Their expertise in demolishing fortifications, a testament to their relentless dedication to siege warfare. Each level of the Iron Warriors' command was steeped in a culture of relentless calculation and resentment, where every order given and followed was a step in the unforgiving march towards their perceived enemies, including those within the Imperium who had once celebrated their victories only to forget their sacrifices.
Yeah. Fuzz in the chat says, I wonder if Perturabo tells his Iron Warriors thanks or good job when they win, or if he perpetuates that cycle of neglect.
Hard to say. I'm guessing he's making a whole army of school shooters.
yeah, that's probably closer to it. Eh?
I think he's
giving them no
yeah.
encouragement whatsoever.
I agree. I think he's just kind of breeding that resentment from within too, but giving them an outlet for it with warfare.
Yeah.
I don't see him doing, especially, I mean, had he, I would say maybe pre-fall to chaos, there was maybe some, and I'm just totally speculating here, but maybe there was a bit of like, you know, well done, guys, you know, something, a little whatever. But I think fall to chaos, he's like, fuck it, I don't care. We're all a means to an end. It doesn't matter. This is just nihilistic bullshit, you know?
Yeah, I think so. I think I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sad though.
Well, yeah, not an ideal outcome for him. Yeah. Well, we get to the best part of this, and this is hearing about all the badass, different kind of cool units they have. Now, go to Merlin's miniatures, and you can buy any of these things from them. Like I said, do you want Terminators with Cyclone missile launchers on all of them? Yes, sir. We'll talk about them. First thing we will talk about is the Trident. And the Trident was composed of 3 exalted warsmiths of the 4th Legion, known as Triarchs, who attend Perturabo as his personal advisors. The Trident existed outside of the rest of the Legion's regular command structure. Together, the Trident functioned as the soul of the Iron Warriors, supporting their Primarch and steering the 4th Legion's temperament and decisions. Not only those warsmiths who possess the necessary qualities of strength and charisma were ever allowed to serve at the Primarch's side. The Lord of Iron expects nothing less than the most extreme discipline and loyalty from his Triarchs. But most of all, he expected unbending obedience to the orders he gave. Each blade of the Trident was as solid and unbending as the hand that wielded it. This is cool. This is like the Mournival almost, you know, this like Primarch advisor type concept. I like that he does add to be one of these guys. You have to be charismatic. Because, yeah, that's not Perturabo's gig.
Mm-hmm.
The Triarch, and that's an honorary rank reserved for each of the 3 exalted warsmiths who compose of the 4th Legion's advisory Trident. Warsmiths, a title of a warsmith, was an honorary rank held by the senior Astartes captains who commanded the 4th Legion's grand battalions. It was granted for exceptional skill and valor in carrying out the Legion's assaults and gave its bearer command over several of the Legion's companies, which were combined into larger units known as grand battalions. And after each of the Horus Heresy, the title would later be given the name to the Chaos Lord who commanded each of the Iron Warriors' myriad war bands of Chaos Space Marines. Honorable. An honorary rank held by an esteemed member of the Iron Warriors that conducted the meetings of the Dodecathon. Tyrant Siege Terminators. Here we go. Get that page ready. Copy paste that into there. Tyrant Siege Terminator Squad. The vanguard of the Iron Warrior Siege Breakers formation. These warriors were clad in thick cataphracti pattern Terminator armor and deadly carapace mounted Cyclone missile launchers. These implacable warriors were fortress breakers of unparalleled skills. Recruited from amongst the battle-hardened Iron Warriors, Tyrant Siege Terminators were expected to brave the most ferocious enemy fire without regard for their own survival. Most often, these veterans were found among the ranks of the Stor Beskar, the elite siege masters of the 4th Legion, and deployed to other grand battalions that need to support siege and assault actions. Yeah, those guys are sweet, man. Like, they're just the most heavy individual unit ever with missile launchers, storm bolters, and power fists, or thunderhammers sometimes.
The big heavies. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. Iron Havoc Support Squad. The Iron Havoc Support Squads of the 4th Legion were an elite formation who elevated the tactics of saturating an area of targeting enemy armor with heavy ordnance through sheer weight of fire almost to an art. These warriors were amongst the finest marksmen in the Iron Warriors, placing both shell and explosive blasts with exacting precision as they advanced alongside the Legion's assault cadres. And it's cool that this term, the Havoc Squads, kind of carried through to the Chaos Legions, where we have Devastator Squads, which are heavy weapons on the Loyalist side. But yeah, the Havocs were kind of carried through, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
The Iron Circle. Formed in the wake of the attack on board Perturabo's flagship, the Iron Blood, during the Battle of Fall, the Iron Circle was a self-sustaining unit of implacable killers, devoted servants, and incorruptible Praetorians all in one. The Iron Circle was composed of 6 colossal-class battle robots who served as the Primarch Perturabo shield breakers and personal honor guard during the Horus Heresy. Each battle automaton bore the heraldry of the 4th Legion warrior, and the cold machine hearts were loyal in the way that was only possible for an unthinking machine to be. The Stork Bashki. Hold on. Oh, sorry. I almost passed right over the Iron Circle. And those guys are sweet, actually. They're huge, man. And they're almost as tall as a Primarch. And they, yeah, holding giant hammers and these slab shields. They're fucking awesome.
Why don't we have this shit? Like, I'm looking up their range and like I feel like there's got to be some.
Well, these guys are Forge World stuff. So you're gonna look there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can get these guys for sure.
Can you get them
that
on
would be
Merlin's Miniatures?
Merlin's Miniatures definitely sells the Iron Circle and the yeah, they're so cool, man. I could just imagine playing a list with Perturabo and 6 of these guys. And
that would be rad.
Yeah. Just going to town, and he's just unleashing his own pent up frustration and vengeance, you know.
Yeah.
We got the Stor Bazak again. The Stor Bazak were siege masters of the Iron Warriors Legion, a host of ordnance and heavy artillery specialists who commanded firepower like no other. The Stor Bazak were also highly explosive ordnance experts and were responsible for crafting the necessary earth-breaching charges used by the Iron Warriors. Massive siege works, once the most functional and desirable locations for the breach in the enemy's defenses, had been identified. Jax in the chat asks, Mark, are you in support of GW releasing a Perturabo model? Yeah, like maybe that's we'll come back to that. Maybe let's talk about that in the call-in section, Jax, or we'll see. We're running short on time. I'll answer it now real quick. I liked all the Chaos Primarchs, man. Like, they never went anywhere unless you were dead or lost. But the Chaos Primarchs, it's like, yeah, I always knew Perturabo was around, and I knew at any point he could come out and fuck up a planet. Do I want to model for him at this point? Fuck yes. If you asked me this 5 years ago, no, we don't need the Primarchs, but at least he makes sense. Like, he was always a thing. He never went anywhere.
If we're sticking with the Iron Warriors vibe, though, they should just not make one and further the resentment of the Legion.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Yeah. And the final unit we'll talk about is the Bonded, and they're the Iron Warriors. In their relentless pursuit have long exploited vast numbers of expendable human troops, a practice embedded deep in the strategy even before Horus Heresy's treachery unfolded. These forces, bound to serve the Fourth Legion, have marched alongside Perturabo's son, amassing glory through their association, though always under the shadow of their Astartes masters. They did have a bunch of sections on these guys, a bunch of named ones, and they're very much like different guard regiments. But like, yo, we're not even giving Perturabo and the Iron Warriors glory. You think I'm gonna name drop any of these bonded people? Fuck no, they don't deserve that. And
Yeah, another
the
means
resentment
to
build.
mend. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Speaking of, what you got, Mark? I heard that little.
Yeah, so now we'll jump into the Brethren of the Iron Warriors, and these are kind of more of these like warrior cults that we were talking about. And if the chapter ever had any chapter belief, it could kind of be associated with these guys or these different kind of warrior cults.
Yeah, so the Brethren of the Iron Warriors. Within the Iron Warriors, there were entrenched warrior societies, or kind of like the warrior cults, as we talked about, that operated beyond the Legion's formal command structure, shrouded in secrecy from outsiders. These societies were either bulwarks against the corruptive influence of Horus's warrior lodges, or, by some accounts, the very conduits of the Fourth Legion's descent into darkness. And so here's a few of them. We've got the Dodecathon, known as the Brethren of Stone. This was the most ancient, populous, and influential of the societies, tracing its roots back before Perturabo's union with the Legion and Olympia. Originally a tactical symposium from Terra, it evolved under Perturabo into a venue modeled after Olympian traditions, where the 12 greatest tyrant households convened. Yeah, so kind of like what we looked up there on the Wikipedia.
Oh, yeah.
This society became a crucible for the Legion's top warriors, strategists, and builders, where rivalry simmered beneath a veneer of academic warfare with no regard for rank. It was a place of honor, but entry was reserved for those proven in battle to avoid the wrath of the unforgiving Primarch. Apollocron, the Brethren of Steel, as it was called, was a secretive subset of the Dodecathon, which you're already the secret of the secret now. So,
what is this? Dark Angels? Come on.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Specializing in the craft of battle automata, the construction, maintenance, and strategic use of it. This group maintained a tense relationship with the Mechanicum, especially those not directly affiliated with the Iron Warriors, seen by some as rivals to the Legio Cybernetica's control over robotic lore. The Keladakos, or the Brethren of Cold, emerged from the Fourth Legion's early conquests under Perturabo, focusing on warfare and engineering of warships. It included not only Astartes, but also mortal forces and Mechanicum Magi, with their headquarters at the heavily fortified Black Citadel on Olympia. Lysatra, known as the Brethren of Thunder, this society was the most reclusive and cultish, often called the Burned Men. They were obsessed with creating extreme destruction, dabbling in forbidden knowledge and Xenos technology well before heresy. Their methods considered mad even among their own. Ooh, I would love to see like some sort of kit bashed army on the table with that in mind. I think that would be really cool. You know?
Fuck, that'd be cool.
Yeah. The Tyranthikos, the Dominators, were once Perturabo's elite Terminator honor guard, but their disgrace at the Battle of Fall demoted them to lead the most punishing assaults. Their failure left them in a state of constant atonement, their once proud status replaced by the Iron Circle battle automata, a relentless reminder of their fall from grace, fueling their bitter, once again, their bitter resentment.
Resentment for the
Jeez.
resentment god.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Man. Very cool. Very cool flavors.
When you lay out all of these, it shows a very practical reason why these exist. It's like the Brethren of Stone. They're these builders. They're the ones doing all the fortifications. And instead of talking philosophy when they're in the trenches, they're just talking how to build a better trench, how to build a better wall. You got the Brotherhood of Steel, where it's like they're managing the robots, and the Brotherhood of Cold, where, yeah, you can imagine all the void warfare Iron Warriors starting to get together on the ships and like having their kind of, well, how do we make this void warfare better? You know, it's all about like almost proximity and practicality.
Yeah. Very cool ways to try and flavor out your army too. Like if you wanted to take some of these and kind of go, well, these guys are like part of the Tyranthikos vibe, you know, it'd be neat.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, shall we get into the war gear?
Ooh, yeah.
The Iron Warriors, in their relentless pursuit of victory, eschew the ostentatious armor of other legions for the utilitarian and battle-worn Mark III Iron and Mark IV Maximus pattern power armor. Their suits are not adorned with gaudy heraldry, but rather bear the scars of countless sieges, their gray, unpolished surfaces a testament to the endless attrition they've endured. This armor, designed for the rigors of siege warfare, sacrifices agility for resilience. Its thick plates ideal for withstanding the relentless bombardment they both inflict and receive. Every dent and scratch in their armor is a mark of their bitter commitment to the hard, unforgiving style of war that they've been regulated to. A silent protest against those who once praised them, only to discard them for less gritty conquests. In their arsenal, the Iron Warriors favor weaponry that echoes their cold, calculating nature. Bolters, plasma guns, and heavy bolters are the tools of their trade, each shot a calculated decision to maximize destruction. Their choice of armaments reflects the resentment towards any form of inefficiency. Every weapon is selected for its ability to reduce fortifications to rubble or to mow down waves of adversaries with mechanical precision. The power swords and chain swords they wield in close combat are not for the glory of duels, but for the brutal efficiency of breaking through enemy lines, ensuring that every strike is a step closer to the inevitable collapse of their foes' defenses, fueled by the bitterness of their overlooked achievements. When it comes to artillery and tanks, the Iron Warriors are unmatched in their relentless application of force. Their siege trains are composed of a variety of heavy ordnance, from basilisks to medusas, their barrels never cooling as they rain down death upon enemy fortifications. Their tanks, like the Vindicator and the Land Raider, are not just machines of war, but symbols of their unyielding siege mentality. Each one a mobile fortress designed to breach and dominate. The Iron Warriors' use of these machines are not just about tactical advantage, but also a calculated display of their resentment. A reminder to the galaxy that they are masters of siege warfare, their heavy weapons, a relentless testament to their bitterness towards those who underestimated them. Well, I think we figured out that they're very resentful.
Yeah, I'm doing a Jordan. I'm doing a search in here. Let's see how many times the word resent.
Yeah.
Okay, chat and guys, do we want to take a guess how many times we mentioned the word resent? Not necessarily resentment, but what just resent
the root
the
word.
core word. Yeah, the root word. How many times do you think we talked about it tonight? Chat, go real fast. What do you got?
Yeah.
What do you got?
Come on, first one in
Mark,
the chat.
Mark, Jordan, what do you guys think?
I think around 25. Let's go with 14. Liar says
Liar saying 14.
I'll say
69. Jordan says 20.
27. Jax. Okay. Jordan, what do you think?
20.
20. Okay. Gentlemen, I have it here. It is 25. Mark, you are correct.
Oh, wow.
It is 25.
Yeah, I technically cheated when I wrote the notes, but that's not here or there.
Right. Now, bitter is mentioned 19 times in here. And
That's nice.
bitterness is yeah, but I think, my God, that is the word of the episode.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It just doesn't matter what seems to happen. They're always like, I didn't like how that played out. I don't like that at all.
Do you think
Yeah.
maybe, what if it's actually not the Imperium that is the problem? What if it's actually Perturabo? He's the problem.
Well, hold on now. Hold
Yeah.
on. Yeah,
You
he
ever
just
asked
needs to
that
change his
question?
outlook. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just playing a big fat victim.
That's not what the
all the
Imperium can do
time.
for you, but what you can do for the Imperium Perturabo.
That's right. Oh, man. Very cool though.
Yeah.
I'm really glad I learned a lot on this one. And they're pretty sweet.
Yeah, they got a bunch of very cool ways that you could make this army, whether you decide to go the route of like one of these warrior cults, or whether you decide to go the route of all siege or all tank or all artillery. They just kind of got a couple of different cool ways to make them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're into the heavy stuff, like heavy artillery bombardment, heavy guns, all that, this is for you. And I think we just need to like push the Iron Warriors on the tabletop and push for those armies to be played. Like, they're unrecognized, guys. Every time you drive down the street and you see like there's just that little reflective surface that has the black and yellow, and you'll see it like just below street signs and things. Every time you see one of those, you think Perturabo. Purdy, I got you, brother. Boom. Every time you see some sort of
you
caution,
get some recognition.
there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, some caution tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every Iron Warrior skull you slap on that caution tape, Perturabo doesn't go on a Black Crusade another time.
There you go. And I'm looking in my classic 3rd edition thing here, and I feel like they had some representation in this.
Liar in the comments says he won't play their army so they can resent even more.
Yeah, fuel their resentment, just refuse to play them.
Rude.
If you really want to be thematic in it, like we talked about,
That's funny.
we talked about what the warp being like teleportation in one of our last episodes, like the moment when you pick up your models and put them on the table, like that's your thematic warp and teleportation. If you want to be very thematic with Iron Warriors players, you put them in the corner of the LGS. You put them at the stinky table. Like, no, just that's where you go, because we're not going to give you any glory. Just go hold that area.
Yeah, we got all the good stuff over here. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, on the next episode of Lorehammer, we talk about the Iron Warriors in 40K and the Warband era. And I don't want to give any spoiler alerts, but they're still resentful 10,000 years later, believe it or not. They didn't never get over it. So you can look forward to that. 10,000 years of complaints we will go through.
Traitors be traiting,
One
Iron Warriors be
complaint at a
resenting.
time. Traitors be trading. Oh man. Well, very cool episode. I do like the Iron Warriors. Like, it's hard not to kind of sympathize with them from the very beginning. They get the shaft, they get no love, and just step by step, it seems like everyone around them screws them. just right to their face, and yeah, not fun for them. So they got a long 10,000 years of heresy still to go. Excited to get into that in the next episode. No time for call-ins today. We're gonna just jump right to the end notes. I had a fun episode. Maybe one episode I'll do all calling guests and do something up like that, but that's neither here nor there. Keep your eyes kind of peeled on Discord for that kind of information. But if you heard something that you liked on this episode, a specific unit, do you want that Iron Circle? Go to Merlin's Miniatures and use the promo code Lorehammer, or use the link in the description below, and there's a referral link. You can get 15% off if you join their mailing link. So that's pretty fucking sweet discount. And if you use the referral code in the link down below, I get a little kickback too. So that's pretty sweet. You can help me out. You can buy your miniatures 15% off, and they ship worldwide. So go check out Merlin's Miniatures, and use the link below, or use the promo code Lorehammer. My other thing, I always shout out Lorehammer Listening Lore. Somebody on the Discord asked me, where we at with that? And I'm like, well, I release an episode, get all pumped up, and then run out of time and don't record for a month. And then I release an episode and get all pumped up and don't record for a month. But I promise everyone, I won't end Lorehammer Listening Lore until I get to at least 500 stories shared. So keep sending them in.
Yeah, guys, and if you want, check out what I've done with season 1 of the Funkatronic Rex podcast. I was the host there. So if you want to hear more about Warhammer, you want to hear maybe the origins of Lorehammer, Mark and I chat about that a little bit. Board games, card games, tabletop war games, we chatted about it all. It's fun. If you think that I make movie references in these episodes, damn, go listen to that shit. So check it out, Funkatronic Rex podcast.
Yeah.
And don't forget to, as always, check out the Star Wars podcast, the best Star Wars podcast on the HoloNet. If you want a fix of that galaxy far, far away, me and Christian are there, so come check us out. Star Wars podcast, just Google it, you'll find it.
Yeah, very cool. And we got a couple people who has joined our Patreon the last few days, and they are helping keeping the show going. I seen in today's chat somebody joined as well. A couple new people definitely are joining and kind of interacting in the actual live stream, which is awesome. But the new Patreon members are Zach, Callum, and Evan. Thank you all so much. Blessings to you all. My family thanks you. You feed my chickens, and then I eat their poop eggs. So circle of life. Life is good for us all. Join the Patreon.
Mark does
well,
not
Jordan Court.
you.
Thanks. What?
I said Mark does not resent
No,
you, Patreon.
No.
But
love
those of you who aren't Patreon patrons, he definitely resents you.
Yeah. But I am still everyone's lore daddy, whether you've given me money or not. Either way, I am. Technically, come under my wing. I'll keep you safe. I'll tell you what the world's like. All right, Court, Logan, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Jordan, Logan's not on here.
I'm basically Logan.
Oh, shit. Force of habit's a fun thing, eh?
Honor to be here amongst the two of the OG Lorehammer guys. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, peace.